Hello, Agony Aunties, Emily and Sophie. I have a question here for you, which is, I recently had surgery following an unplanned ectopic pregnancy. It was my first pregnancy, and although it was unplanned, I feel quite sad and anxious about the future. Do you have any advice for me? That's so sad. Thank you for asking us the question. And it feels to me like this is grief, even if it's unplanned, that you're grieving what you would hope for a first pregnancy, which is that it would go well and you deliver a baby, even if you hadn't planned for having a baby.
It is incredibly sad. And often when you have a miscarriage, there's a fear of, can I have a baby? If this was your first pregnancy, even though you know that, I don't know if you do, but the statistics are that there's no reason that you shouldn't go on to have a really healthy next pregnancy, should you choose to. I mean, I can tell you from my own experience, what helped me was to create an actual space for being sad. So I have a box with photos of scans that we had, along with letters that my husband and I both wrote about what we sort of wished, and also my sort of sense, which I think is very common and not logical, that somehow I should have done something different. If I'd done something different, I'd have been able to, I think from as soon as you're pregnant, you have a natural sense of I should be able to protect my baby, even if my baby is just a collection of cells that I can't control where my body has put those cells. I think looking after your body physically, you've had surgery, and that is your body will feel that. So allow yourselves to, for me, it's baths and walks and things like that, but you might have your own version of that. And I also don't know if there's any ambivalent feelings, because the pregnancy was unplanned, so that you might feel really sad, but also feel relieved, because I think a baby is such a huge thing. And if you hadn't planned, it feels quite overwhelming and scary when you have planned to have a baby, even if you really want a baby. So I wonder if there's also something that feels a bit complicated about, I feel really sad and maybe scared. And also there's a part of me to feel relieved, and sort of just allowing yourself to feel the both and. I am devastated and afraid, and I'm also allowed to feel some relief that I am not having to turn my life upside down. But I'm really sorry. Yeah, I'm really sorry.
I think whenever we find out that we're pregnant, planned, unplanned, wanted, unwanted, it immediately leads to a flurry of imaginings of future, and you can't control it. And there's going to be some scary imaginings. There can be hopeful, dream fulfillment imaginings. And so when there's a miscarriage or it's an ectopic pregnancy and that ends, then you're grieving all these imaginings that came up, a sort of future that for a moment was a possibility and then turned out not to be possible. I guess there's the grief of whatever you started imagining when you first found out you were pregnant. And also just the processing of that, even if some of that was hard. And then there's another bit, as I understand it from you, is that I think that the sort of confidence, in a way, that Emily was talking about in your body to do this thing healthily and have a healthy baby, that gets kind of knocked when our body doesn't behave in the way that we expected it to or hoped it would. And so I guess there's some healing to do around that. And I think that piece about being kind to your body, about noticing all the things that your body does really well and is healthy, and restoring some of your sort of confident narrative in what your body is able to do, like heal after surgery, and that it will be natural that if and when you decide that you do want to have another baby, that this will resurface, even if it's quite a long time from now. And it won't be because you haven't processed it well now. It's just that those sorts of things will resurface when our body is recalling its past experience of that thing. And that there might be another piece of work to done later to sort of support any fears that come up again if you decide to get pregnant.
I agree with both of you. I think that's really helpful. Oh, I hope it's helpful. My other thought that connects in a way with what you're saying, both of you, is that our belief system is informed by our experience. And if your experience is, I get pregnant and it ends in an ectopic pregnancy and surgery, that might inform your kind of picture for yourself in the future. And just to let yourself know that it is your story from the past. It does not predict your future. So when you said you feel sad and anxious about the future, your past experience doesn't inform your future. But I would get some medical advice about ectopic pregnancies, and if there is medical advice that can support you as well.
And also CV UK, Child Bereavement UK, or other online resources for people who've lost a baby. I think can be really helpful.
I imagine that there may be an ectopic pregnancy organisation. I could have a look, but also the Miscarriage Association. But we'll look for you for resources that are helpful for you.
I think one of the very scary things about being pregnant, particularly when you lose a baby in the early stages of pregnancy, or this was what I found. So there's like a projection, is how could this be happening inside of me? And I didn't know that my baby could be growing in this place where it couldn't survive, or my baby's heartbeat could stop. And I couldn't even tell. I was just going about my normal day. And I think that is an innately terrifying thing. So is this advice? I don't know if this is advice or
sort of
just
validating
empathy.
her experience and being empathic.
Yes. Yeah. So I really understand the fear part too.
And the other thing I would add about the future is try and keep your skylines short. So try and keep your skylines to today or the next few days, because you can terrorize yourself about the unknown future, and you've just had a very unknown experience happen to you. And those emotions will get into what you picture as a future, and then you can kind of really frighten yourself. So try and keep your skyline short, and that you know what you're doing today, and support yourself in the best way that you can with today, and do all the things that regulate your system, like Emily and Sophie said, about comfort, but also about what you eat, who you see, what you listen to, how much you sleep, what you watch, what you read. All of that influences your moods. And so to do things that down-regulate your system, because what you want is to feel safe. And that sense of safety will help you manage when you get this sort of hits of anxiety and sadness, and allow you to process them.
Sorry, I actually did also have another thought, which is more advicey, which is, I don't know what age or stage of life you are, but you might be at a stage of life where a lot of your friends are becoming pregnant or having babies or have young children. And I just freely recommend that you feel no guilt or no compunction in not seeing those people, not going to the baby shower, if that feels unmanageable to you, and other people will survive. I think it can be an excruciating experience to be around little babies when you've just had a miscarriage, and that protecting yourself is more important than socially upsetting a friend in some way.
I think that's a really good addition. Thank you both, and thank you so much for your question. And I really hope that you can take some of it on board and allow it to support you in such a difficult time. And we will add the resources. So thank you for asking us, and take care.